They raised their glasses to celebrate a promotion, and I smiled while my chest caved in. Because the name they cheered for wasn't mine. My name is Richard Hale. I'm 33 years old, and until last Friday night I thought I mattered. For 5 years I bled for that company, Salesforce San Francisco HQ. I came in early, stayed late, solved fires no one dared to touch. I mentored interns, onboarded half the department, cleaned up messes before leadership even smelled smoke. I was the quiet guy they could always count on. Until they didn't. People like me, we don't ask for much. Recognition. Sure, a bit of respect. That'd be nice, but mostly we keep our heads down and do the damn job. For months, my manager Bradley Knox had been dropping subtle breadcrumbs. You're next in line, Rich. Big things coming. We just need a few more quarters like this one. So when the company threw a quarterly celebration party downtown at the Salesforce Tower rooftop lounge, I showed up in a tailored blazer for the first time in years. Even ironed my shirt. This was supposed to be it. My moment, my turn. The room buzzed with expensive laughter and too sweet cocktails. Glasses clinked. Fairy lights flickered. We toasted to the numbers I helped drive, the record sales I helped close, the systems I built from the ground up. I was standing next to Sophie from HR laughing at some joke I didn't even hear when Bradley stood up, fork-tapping glass, commanding silence like a king in his castle. My heart slammed against my ribs. Palms damp, smile ready. This was it, finally. Bradley cleared his throat, grinning that wide, smug grin of his. Tonight, he began, I want to recognize someone who's made an incredible impact in such a short amount of time. Wait, short amount of time. My smile cracked, just slightly. He continued. Someone whose leadership, creativity, and results have truly blown us away. He turned. Not toward me. Toward Jordan. Jordan Lee. The new guy. Fresh out of Amazon. Been here, 3 months? 3. That's why I'm thrilled to announce our new Senior Manager of Strategy and Growth, Jordan Lee. Applause. Loud, excited, unbothered. I didn't move at first. Not because I was in shock. No, because some part of me had seen this coming. Some part of me had known the moment he started giving Jordan the same breadcrumbs he used to give me. But even with that quiet voice in the back of my head, nothing could dull the slap of hearing it out loud. I lifted my glass, forced a grin, clinked it against Sophie's, whose face twisted between awkward and sorry. Jordan looked surprised. He blushed, gave a humble nod. I don't know what to say. I did. I knew exactly what to say, but I said nothing. Because there's a certain kind of pain, the kind that doesn't scream or break glass. It just sits in your chest like concrete. Heavy, silent. Bradley caught my eye then. Smirked like he remembered I existed. And of course he added, let's not forget Richard. A real team player. Appreciate everything you do, man. A pat on the back. After 5 years. I smiled wider. Nodded like a good soldier. And then he said it. The line that sealed everything. You should take notes from Jordan. Laughter. From a few corners of the table, Jordan chuckled nervously. Oh, I wouldn't say that, he said, but the damage was done. I took a long sip of champagne, bitter. I stayed for another hour. I laughed, I nodded, I played my part. Because that's what I do, always have. But the moment I stepped into the elevator away from their plastic praise and boardroom backstabbing, I pulled out my phone. Typed exactly 10 words. Subject: resignation letter. Dear Bradley, please find my official resignation letter attached. Effective immediately. Best, Richard. I hit send, and for the first time in years I could breathe. Not from freedom, not from victory, but from clarity. They thought I would just fade out. They had no idea. I was just getting started. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was spiraling, but because my mind was crystal sharp, focused. Some people break. Some people rant. I plan. By the time the sun rose over San Francisco, I had already packed up my desk in my head, downloaded what I needed from the cloud, and reviewed my NDA line by line. Let them try to stop me. I took my time that morning. Shaved, pressed a fresh shirt, tied the same navy blue tie I wore the day I got hired at Salesforce. The tie I wore when I still believed in loyalty. Walking into the office felt surreal. Same glass walls, same espresso machine humming in the kitchen, same receptionist pretending not to notice the tension in the air. But I noticed. People were whispering. Not about Jordan, not about revenue, about me. Did you hear he left? No way. He's here. I just saw him. I walked past them like a ghost with unfinished business. Made my way to my desk, sat down, logged in, clicked send on one final email. Subject: official resignation. Immediate dear leadership. Please consider this my formal notice of resignation from Salesforce. Effective immediately. It has been a complex journey, but I leave clear-headed and proud of what I built here. Warm regards. Richard Hale. 10 seconds later, Sophie popped her head up over the cubicle wall. Richard, what did you just do? I didn't look up. I sent the truth, I said. She blinked, stepped closer. Are you sure I mean immediate? I turned toward her finally and gave her the calmest smile of my life. Yeah, I'm sure. She opened her mouth again but didn't get the chance. Because right then Bradley's door slammed open like a storm front. Richard, my office, now. The entire floor went silent. Even the printer stopped mid-page like it didn't want to make noise. I stood, straightened my sleeves, and walked slowly, deliberately through a sea of eyes and stiff necks. I didn't knock, didn't wait, just walked in and closed the door behind me. Bradley was already at his desk, red-faced, holding a printed copy of my resignation letter. He waved it like a threat. What the hell is this? I sat down across from him. A decision, I said simply. His voice was sharp, rattled. You don't just walk away like this, Rich. You're valuable. I smiled, and it was the coldest smile I've ever worn. Funny. That's not what you said Friday night. He shifted in his chair. That wasn't personal. You told me to take notes from someone who's been here 3 months, I said quietly. I took that personally. He leaned forward, suddenly performative. Look, maybe I handled that wrong, okay? But this isn't how you fix it. Quitting like this, it's reckless. I raised one eyebrow. I didn't quit in anger, Bradley. I quit in clarity. He scoffed. So what now? You gonna run to HubSpot, Oracle? Think we won't enforce your non-compete? I leaned back in the chair, let the silence stretch, and then I dropped it. Derek Morgan. He froze, just a flicker, but I saw it. You remember him, I said softly. The CFO you pushed out last year? You thought he was too old school for your vision. Turns out he had one of his own. Bradley's throat tightened. Derek started a firm. So what? He reached out to me 6 months ago, I said. Back then I said no. I was still loyal. I let the word hang there like a blade. But Friday night changed that. Bradley's voice dropped to a whisper. You're going to work for him. Not just work, I said. I'm running operations, director level. Silence. A thick, acidic kind of silence. He finally breathed. This is emotional. That's all this is. No Bradley. Emotional would have been slamming the door and flipping a table. This, I stood buttoning my jacket. This is calculated. I turned to leave. You won't be able to come back. I didn't stop walking. I won't need to. And I meant it. By the time I stepped out of Bradley's office, word had already spread. I could feel it in the silence, in the way heads subtly turned, then turned away again, too fast, too guilty. Salesforce's sleek glass walls suddenly felt more like mirrors, reflecting all the things they didn't want to say out loud. I walked back to my desk. Every footstep sounded louder than it should have. I wasn't rushing. I wanted them to feel it. The weight of someone they had counted on quietly removing himself from the equation. I opened my inbox one last time, typed in the leadership group. Subject: final confirmation, effective now. Team. This morning I had a direct conversation with Bradley regarding my departure. This message serves as my final confirmation that as of today, I am officially stepping down. No further actions are required. Best Richard Hale. Click. Sent. 10 seconds later, the office wasn't just quiet. It was still. Like the calm before something no one saw coming. I started packing up my desk. Didn't take long. 5 years. And it all fit into a single black laptop bag. A few notepads, my old mug, and a pen Sophie gave me that said "Fixer of all things." Funny how true that had been, and how they never really saw it. As I zipped the bag, I heard her. Richard. I looked up. Sophie Kim. The only person in that building who hadn't pretended I was invisible since Friday night. She stepped forward, eyes searching my face. I heard everything. You really left. I did, I said, calm. She looked down, exhaled. Honestly, I get it. I just didn't think you'd actually go through with it. Neither did Bradley. She gave a dry chuckle. Bradley's a jackass. I didn't confirm it. Didn't deny it. Just looked at her. And she knew. Then came the others. One by one. They didn't say much. Some hovered by the copier. Some peeked over the glass walls. Some whispered behind coffee mugs. Even Jordan glanced up from his shiny new desk, eyes flickering with... Was it guilt? Doubt? Fear? Didn't matter. He didn't do anything wrong. He just existed in the wrong moment. And that moment was collapsing in real time. 10 minutes later, just as I grabbed my coat ping. Email. From Bradley Knox, subject, urgent, let's talk, location, executive office. 15 mins. I stared at it for a second, then smiled to myself. Desperate men don't hide well. 15 minutes later, I walked back into his office, but now it was different. Bradley looked older. Like a man who realized he may have just pulled out the one Jenga block holding the whole tower. He gestured to the seat across from him. I didn't sit. Richard, he began. No need for drama. I think we can work this out. I raised one eyebrow. Quiet. He kept going. I made a mistake. I'll own that. Maybe I rushed the promotion. Maybe I should have consulted you. I blinked. You think that's the problem? He hesitated. Well, what I mean is, let's not burn bridges over one event. You've been here for years. We value you. Now I laughed, quietly. You value me now. He didn't answer. I took a step closer to the desk, then leaned down just enough for my voice to cut. Bradley, the bridge didn't burn. You doused it in gasoline, handed me the match, and watched me light it, smiling. He swallowed hard. I can offer a title, he said. Senior manager, even director. You're offering the same role I already accepted, I said. His brows twitched. Wait, you're serious about Morgan and Associates? I start Monday. Silence. That's when I saw it. The flicker. Fear. Not anger, not confusion. Pure, quiet fear. Because for the first time in this whole charade, Bradley realized I wasn't bluffing. He had underestimated the wrong person. The funny thing about walking away is that sometimes it's not the explosion people remember. It's the silence that follows. By Tuesday morning, that silence had become deafening. I was already in Austin, Texas. The weather was warmer. The air felt less filtered. I stepped into Morgan and Associates headquarters, nothing flashy. Just glass, steel, and purpose. The receptionist greeted me by name. No badge check. No awkward onboarding maze. Just Director Hale, welcome. We've been waiting for you. It hit me right then. This wasn't just a new job. It was a rebirth. Meanwhile, back in San Francisco, Salesforce was cracking. Sophie messaged me later that afternoon. Sophie, Richard, it's starting. People are asking questions. Clients are asking for you by name. I didn't respond right away. I was too busy leading my first department strategy session, real leadership, real authority, no politics. But when I did reply, I kept it simple. Me let them ask. 3 days in, Chris Varela called. CEO of Dawson & Wells, one of the biggest clients I'd personally handled back at Salesforce. His voice was casual, but his words weren't. Hey, Richard, I heard you moved. I did. To Morgan. I did. Pause. Well, he said that explains a lot. Things over there feel different without you. I smiled, leaning back in my chair. What can I do for you, Chris? Another pause. I'm considering moving our account to wherever you are. I didn't push, didn't persuade. I let the silence do the work. He filled it. Let's talk details. That's the thing with quiet work. People don't always notice it while you're there. But the second it's gone, things fall apart. Back at Salesforce, Bradley had a new problem. Jordan was drowning. Great with buzzwords, terrible with execution, ideas everywhere, follow through nowhere. Bradley had gambled everything on him, and he was losing. Sophie sent me another message. Sophie Jordan couldn't answer basic client onboarding metrics today. 2 VPs had to jump in. One of the clients asked, "Why isn't Richard handling this?" You could hear the silence in Bradley's throat. I stared at her message, then slowly typed 2 words. Me told you. But I wasn't watching Salesforce fall to feel smug. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was building. My team at Morgan & Associates was lean, smart, fast. And Derek, he gave me the one thing Bradley never had the guts to. Control. He didn't hover, didn't question every move. He said one thing in our first meeting. "You've always been the architect, now build the house." So I did. By Friday, 2 more former clients had reached out. Both said the same thing. "We didn't sign with Salesforce. We signed with you." And I hadn't pitched a word, hadn't made a single call. They came on their own. And just like that, the echo became a tremor, the kind you feel in the floor before the whole foundation gives way. By the time the second week rolled in, I had already closed my 3rd major account at Morgan & Associates. Not stolen, not hunted, drawn, like moths to the one steady flame in a room full of flickering imposters. Clients weren't leaving Salesforce because I asked them to. They were leaving because they saw through the illusion, and the illusion was wearing thin. I got another message from Sophie midweek. Sophie, Bradley's panicking. 2 clients canceled back to back. One of them literally told him, "Bring Richard back or we walk." Sophie and they walked. I didn't reply. But I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not pride, leverage. Jordan, meanwhile, was floundering. Reports late. Client decks riddled with buzzwords and zero clarity. He looked good on paper, sure. But real leadership. It's not in the slides. It's in the silence between questions where the team either trusts you or they don't. And they didn't. Thursday. I was in a strategy session with Derek when my assistant knocked. Richard call on line 1. Name's Varela, from Dawson. I picked up. "Chris." "Richard, hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "You're not," I said, even though I was mid-slide into a $1 million roadmap. "I just wanted to let you know," pause. "We're officially moving all accounts under your name. Full portfolio. Full transition. You've earned it." I didn't smile. Not out of modesty, but because I already expected this. "I appreciate the trust," I said simply. Chris chuckled. "You know they really didn't see it coming." "No," I said quietly, "they didn't." That afternoon, Derek walked into my office holding a printout. He dropped it on my desk. "Revenue projections, since you joined." I scanned the chart. Upward, sharp, clear. He crossed his arms. "You know, when I left Salesforce, they called me obsolete. You invisible." Funny how people label what they don't understand. I looked up. Now they understand. He smiled. "No, Richard. Now they're afraid." That night I got the email. From Bradley Knox, subject to proposal. "Richard, I believe we may have gotten off on the wrong foot. I'd like to schedule a time to speak next week. I'm confident we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. Let me know your availability. Regards, Bradley." I stared at the screen. No emotion, just math. He was bleeding. The company was hemorrhaging. And he wanted the person he discarded to save him. I took my time crafting the reply. Subject: RIA proposal. "Bradley, I'm available Monday, 10 a.m. Brief meeting only. Richard." No warmth, no exclamation points, just ice. The storm had begun, and I was no longer standing in the rain. I was the one who brought the clouds. Monday, 9:57 a.m. I stood across the street from the Salesforce tower. Same skyline, same polished glass walls. But everything felt different now. I wasn't walking in as their employee, I was walking in as their reckoning. By 10 sharp, I stepped into the lobby. The receptionist blinked like she was seeing a ghost. Mr. Hale, you're here for a meeting." I nodded. She buzzed Bradley's office. And just like that, the door opened. The walk down that hallway felt like poetry. Whispers behind frosted glass, eyes peeking from cubicles, Jordan ducking into a meeting room like a soldier dodging fire. They all knew. Bradley stood by his office door, forced smile plastered on his face. "Richard, thanks for coming." I didn't shake his hand. Didn't even stop walking until I was seated across his desk. "Let's keep this short," I said. He cleared his throat, dropped into his chair like he was sitting on broken glass. "I'll be honest. Things haven't been the same without you." I noticed I said flatly. He tried to recover. "We miscalculated, and I'll take responsibility for that. But we'd like to fix it. I spoke with leadership. We're prepared to make a serious offer." He slid a document across the desk. I didn't touch it. Director level. Executive comp package. Full autonomy over operations. You'd report directly to the C-suite. Triple your old salary. It's what you deserved all along. I looked at him finally. "No," I said. He blinked. "Sorry. You're not offering this because I deserve it. You're offering it because you're desperate." His mouth opened-closed again. I leaned forward, voice steady. "Let me ask you this, Bradley. If I never left, would I be sitting here today? Would you have offered me that same title, without the threat of losing everything?" He didn't answer. Didn't need to. His silence screamed. I stood. Meeting over. "You know," I said, walking toward the door, "you once told me to take notes from Jordan." I looked over my shoulder. "Maybe it's time you took notes from me." As I stepped out into the hallway, I could feel the shift. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks out of a boardroom silent and untouchable. Back at Morgan & Associates, I returned to my office with its floor-to-ceiling windows and glass of fresh brewed coffee waiting on my desk. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need an apology. I had something better. Proof that I was never the problem. They were just too small to see the size of my worth. 3 days. That's all it took. 3 days after I walked out of that one-sided negotiation, Salesforce started cracking like ice beneath a dying sun. And the first crack, Dawson and Wells. Sophie messaged me at 9:12 a.m. "Sophie, Richard, it's happening." Sophie Dawson pulled their full portfolio. Told Bradley directly, "If Richard's not here, neither are we." Sophie. They didn't even blink. I leaned back in my chair. Sunlight flooded through my new office window. Outside, Austin moved with its usual ease, but inside I could feel the aftershock. Not from what I'd done, but from what I'd stopped doing. The emails came in waves after that. Client 1. We're no longer confident in Salesforce's leadership direction. Client 2. We'd like to discuss transitioning our account to Morgan & Associates. Client 3. Richard Hale. If he's there, we're listening. I hadn't even picked up the phone. I didn't need to. Bradley had underestimated me. He thought I was replaceable. But clients don't remember your title. They remember how you made their chaos feel solvable. And now, they were taking their chaos elsewhere. Sophie messaged again. "Sophie, the board is furious. Client churn is off the charts. And Jordan, he can't handle any of it. Sophie, half the team doesn't even report to him anymore. They just do what they want and CCHR to cover themselves." Sophie O. And one of the VPs just walked out mid-meeting. "Sophie, it's a sinking ship, Richard." But I wasn't laughing. Not out of mercy, not out of guilt. I just didn't need to, because I wasn't trying to bring them down. I was just thriving somewhere else. And they were the ones collapsing under their own weight. That Friday afternoon, as I wrapped up our third cross-departmental rollout, my assistant poked her head into my office. "Richard, you've got a call on line 2. Who is it?" She raised an eyebrow. "Someone named Rachel says she used to work with you." I picked up the line. Rachel. Her voice came through low, cautious. "Hey, I don't know if you heard." "I heard," I said gently. But I let her say it anyway. "Bradley's under internal review. The board's pushing back hard. There's talk of replacing him." I closed my eyes, let the silence breathe. "Then what about Jordan?" She scoffed. "He's already gone. Lasted 10 weeks. They offered him a mentor and he took that as an insult. Walked out yesterday." "Of course he did. Anything else?" I asked. A beat. Then she said it. "They miss you." I paused. They didn't miss me when it mattered, and that was it. No fireworks, no slam dunk revenge plot. Just reality, unfolding exactly the way it should. In the end, Jordan didn't even last the quarter. 10 weeks. That's how long it took for the rising star, the fresh genius Bradley bet everything on to fold like damp paper under pressure. Sophie filled me in. Sophie, it was surreal, Richard. Jordan got called into a leadership review. He thought it was just a performance check-in. Walked in all smiles, walked out pale. Sophie. They offered him an executive coach, gave him feedback from clients, even offered to shadow him for a few weeks. Sophie. He called it an insult to his vision and quit on the spot. Sophie left his keycard on the desk. No goodbye. Just walked out. I stared at my screen for a moment. No smile, no gloat. Just inevitability. Jordan was never the villain. He was a pawn. A shiny, loud, misused distraction. And Bradley, he was the architect of the collapse. But here's what they never realized. It's not who gets promoted. It's who actually holds things together. For 5 years that was me, silently, reliably. Now, they were trying to rebuild a house while the foundation crumbled beneath them. Friday, 6:11 p.m. A new email hit my inbox. From Bradley Knox, subject one last conversation. I opened it slowly. "Richard, I know things haven't gone the way either of us expected. I'm not going to sugarcoat the state of things we're struggling. The board is pushing for clarity. We've lost key accounts, internal morale is down, and frankly, the damage is measurable. I know I made mistakes, and I should have valued your leadership more than I did. If you're open to it, I'd like to propose a return. Not just to your old position, a new one. EVP of Global Strategy. You'd report directly to the board, reshape the department as you see fit. No catch, no conditions. Think about it. Respectfully, Bradley." I stared at the email for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because it was proof. Proof of what happens when you bet on the wrong people and throw away the ones who built the damn machine. I drafted my reply with the kind of precision only experience can carve. Subject one last conversation. Bradley. Appreciate the message, but I've already started the next chapter 1 where I'm respected from day 1. I won't be coming back. But thank you for finally saying what you should have said 5 years ago. I hope sincerely you've learned something. Best, Richard Hale. I hit send, and just like that closed the door they never thought I'd walk out of. Back at Morgan & Associates, Derek stopped by my office later that evening. "You look like a man who just buried a ghost," he said. I glanced at him sipping my coffee. "No, I just let it die on its own." It started with whispers. Then came the emails. And within days, Salesforce was bleeding talent faster than Bradley could bandage it. Sophie messaged me Monday morning. Sophie, 4 more people quit this weekend. Mid-level managers, client success leads, and even Veronica in analytics. She was the only one holding that entire reporting pipeline together. Sophie. And guess what? They're not leaving for another job. Sophie, they're leaving because of him. Bradley had promised them structure. He'd handed them sand. Now the tide was rolling in. By Wednesday, I had lunch scheduled with Veronica, the analytics lead. She picked a quiet spot just outside the Morgan & Associates campus, somewhere far enough from San Francisco's noise, but close enough to still smell the fire. She didn't waste time. "Richard," she said, setting her phone face down. "I want to work for you." I blinked. "You just quit 2 days ago." She nodded. "Yes. And I already know where I want to be." I tilted my head. "Why now?" Veronica looked me dead in the eye. "Because when you left, it was like someone turned on the lights. And we all realized we weren't working for a team. We were propping up a fraud. She leaned in. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to build something real. By the end of that week, I had 5 formal applications from former Salesforce staffers. Smart ones, sharp ones, ones who had been quietly grinding under a system that didn't see them. Now they saw the exit, and they followed the first person who proved it was possible. Bradley, meanwhile, was losing his grip. Sophie's updates were like chapters in a tragic novel. Sophie. The board's furious. They're demanding a restructure plan by end of quarter. Revenue dropped another 14%, and the head of client accounts just walked out mid-call. Sophie. They're even floating your name internally. Someone suggested bringing you back as interim COO. I laughed out loud at that one, but this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about momentum. We were building something new, real, respected. No flash, no politics, no egos. Just smart people doing smart work. And doing it together. On Friday afternoon, Derek came into my office. He tossed a printed spreadsheet on the desk. Client migration numbers, he said. I scanned it. 7 major clients had formally transitioned to us in the last 21 days. 5 of those were clients I had personally built relationships with over 5 years. I looked up. That's over $32 million in revenue, I said quietly. He nodded. And more coming. Everyone's talking. I leaned back, let the moment settle. Derek added one more thing. Oh, and we got a recruiting message from Sophie. She's ready. I smiled. Bring her in. Monday, 7:44 a.m. The subject line hit my inbox like a siren through fog. Subject board consultation request, Salesforce. I read it twice, then a third time, and finally opened it. Richard. This is a formal invitation from the Salesforce Executive Board to attend a closed-door consultation regarding current organizational performance, leadership integrity, and client relations. Your insights and experience are valued. We believe your perspective can inform our next steps. Date Wednesday, time 11:00 a.m. Location, Salesforce Tower, Executive Boardroom. Strictly confidential. Respectfully, Eleanor Woodrow, Chairwoman, Salesforce Board of Directors. I sat back in my chair, not out of shock, but because this was the final movement in the song they didn't know I'd been conducting. They weren't just listening now. They were asking. Wednesday, 10:59 a.m. I walked into the Salesforce boardroom for the first time in my life. Not as an employee, not as a candidate, but as something entirely different. The consequence of their mistakes. 12 board members sat at a curved mahogany table. Bradley was nowhere in sight. Eleanor stood and extended a hand. Mr. Hale, thank you for coming. Of course, I said, measured. She motioned toward the seat at the center opposite the board. The seat no one had ever offered me before. I took it. Calm, collected, unshakable. The meeting began like a chess match. One of the older members cleared his throat. Richard, you've seen the reports. You've seen the fallout. We'd like to know, from your perspective, what happened. I paused, then spoke. You stopped listening to the people who built the engine, and started betting on those who polished the hood. A murmur rolled through the room. I kept going. You valued flash over function, noise over nuance. Bradley created a culture where loyalty was a liability. And I was just the first to walk. Another board member leaned in. What would you have done differently? I looked at them, one by one. You don't fix a company by promoting charm. You fix it by protecting the people who bleed for it in silence. I folded my hands. Bradley forgot that. Your metrics forgot that, but your clients, they didn't. Eleanor leaned forward, voice cool. Richard, be honest. If we offered you full decision-making control today, would you return? I met her gaze and smiled. No. She didn't flinch. Because you're happy at Morgan. Because I built something over there. And more importantly, because you don't need a savior. You need a memory of what happens when you treat your best people like afterthoughts. I stood. That's all I have to say. They were silent. Every single one of them. Because deep down, they knew this wasn't a pitch. This was a eulogy. Back at Morgan and Associates, I returned to my office and found Sophie waiting by the window. "How was it?" she asked. I sat down. "They wanted me back." She smirked. "Let me guess you said no." I reminded them why they're falling apart. She nodded, once solemn. "Good." It broke on a Friday. The kind of headline that punches through inboxes, Slack channels, and glass walls like a bullet through calm water. Breaking Salesforce. CEO Bradley Knox steps down amid leadership crisis. Sophie sent it first. No message, just the link. But it said everything. I clicked. After a series of executive missteps, client losses, and internal resignations, Salesforce confirmed that CEO Bradley Knox has officially stepped down effective immediately. Sources report growing board pressure after failed retention efforts and an exodus of long-term clients. Industry insiders point to former senior leader Richard Hale as a key figure in the shifting tide, whose departure sparked a ripple effect across teams and accounts. There it was. My name. Not buried in the footnotes, not reduced to an asterisk. Centered. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not out of shock, but because finally they were seeing it. Not just me, the truth. That leadership isn't about title, it's about impact. And when people who hold the weight of a company leave, you feel it. That same afternoon, I walked into the main conference room at Morgan and Associates. Derek stood at the far end holding a fresh report. He grinned. "Read it." I took the folder. Q2 growth plus 38%. Client retention 100%. Employee satisfaction highest since founding. I looked up. "You built this," he said. "We built this," I corrected. Later that night, Sophie joined our team dinner, her first as an official hire. She raised her glass toward me halfway through dessert. To Richard, she said, I tried to wave it off. She didn't let me. "No," she said louder, "I mean it." To the man who proved you don't have to burn bridges when you're already building better ones. The table clinked their glasses. I looked around. Different city, different people. But for the first time, the right people. And then, another headline hit. 3 more Fortune 500 clients. Move accounts to Morgan and Associates. Site leadership and stability. I didn't flinch. Didn't cheer. I just forwarded it to one person. Bradley. No message. No context. Just the quiet echo of what happens when legends walk away. It's funny how quiet freedom feels. No headlines, no meetings, no toxic praise with strings attached. Just me standing at the window of my new office, coffee in hand, watching the city move like I'm finally outside the machine I spent years holding together. My name is Richard Hale, and this is how I won. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with clarity. You want to know the truth? Bradley didn't break me. Jordan didn't replace me. Salesforce didn't forget me. They just never saw me. And that's what hurts the most about being invisible. Not that you're overlooked, but that you're used and forgotten in the same breath. But pain is a strange teacher. It either makes you smaller, or it sharpens you. I used to think loyalty was everything. That if I just worked harder, gave more, stayed silent longer, eventually someone would see. But people don't always reward loyalty. They reward leverage. And I didn't have that. Until I walked away. The day I left wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the version of me that didn't need permission, that didn't wait for validation, that built something of his own and watched others follow, not because they had to, but because they finally believed. Bradley, he's a footnote now. Jordan, I hope he finds himself. Salesforce, they'll survive. But me, I lived. And more than that, I led. You see, the world doesn't fall apart when someone quits. It falls apart when the person who holds it together decides it's no longer worth saving. That's what I did. I didn't set fire to the building. I just turned off the lights and let them see who really kept it burning. So if you're out there sitting quietly, working thanklessly, waiting for someone to hand you the moment you've earned, let me be the one to say it. Stop waiting. They don't need to see your worth. You do. And once you do, they'll never forget your name again. I was Richard Hale, the man they underestimated. Now, I'm the man they remember.